Welcome to the Dear NICU Mama podcast. This podcast is a safe place to connect with other NICU moms by listening to interviews with trauma-informed medical and maternal mental health experts, remarkable stories from the NICU, and intentional roundtable conversations.
Our hope is that you feel like you're sitting across the table from another NICU sister and feel seen and validated in your experience. No matter where you are on your healing journey, this podcast is here to remind you that you are not alone. Welcome to the sisterhood.
Hi, beautiful mamas. Welcome back to the Dear NICU Mama podcast. Aisha, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's been beautiful. We're in the Midwest, so it's been very nice weather. We've been really enjoying some spring days, so that's been really lovely.
Good. I love it. Well, mamas, we have a very special treat today. I'm surprised we haven't shared this part of Aisha's story yet. We were actually laughing about the fact that we've shared half of her motherhood story and glimmers of her motherhood story on roundtable episodes, but we haven't had the chance to hear her NICU journey with the one and only Ava. And so, guys, buckle up. This episode is so good. Aisha, I'm so excited to share your story and also give our listeners a chance to get to know you better, especially as you are now the official co-host of the podcast. So I'm so excited. How are you feeling?
I am so pumped. I love talking about Ava. She is I could talk about her all day. So this is a
Yes.
treat for me to be able to share her remarkable story. I am such a firm believer of verbal processing. And so sharing her story has been healing for me in so many ways.
Oh, I'm so pumped. You came up to Fargo for our large fundraising event in past November. And I remember we were sitting over bagels and I was like, wait, there's so many parts of your story that I don't know. And so even though we've been friends for so many years now, it was really special to hear more of the intimate details of your story. And so I'm really excited to share those today. And Ava has a birthday coming up. So this is also like a little bit of an anniversary season for you.
It totally is. She's going to be 4 years old in a few weeks.
What in the world?
It's wild. And the difference from 3 to 4 is so crazy. It's like she's a totally different person. She's matured so much. When I'm talking to her, I'm like, who am I talking to? So I'm really excited for 4. And yes, anniversary season. I have been feeling it in my body. You know, it's been crazy because we talk about it all the time about how as certain dates approach, you just kind of get this overwhelming feeling. It kind of brings you back. I definitely have been feeling it in where my incision is. It's just, it all comes back.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and if you haven't heard Aisha's part 1 with her son Enzo, we will definitely link that in the show notes as well, because Aisha, your story is remarkable for so many reasons, but it doesn't come without loss. And there was almost this previous chapter where you became a mom and then came home with empty arms, and then the courage to try again and try for Ava and then navigate the NICU. And so your story just always will blow me away, and always just I have such a reverence for it because I see the courage embedded through every single aspect of it. And so to all of our lost mamas too, I know that Aisha's story today will bring immense amounts of hope, and we'll make sure to link that first episode because truly the way that you honor his life and share him with us, and just really the way that you became a mother, I will forever be in awe of it. And so I'm so grateful and excited to hear kind of part 2 of when, this whole journey began. And so I do feel like maybe to begin, let's just chat a little bit. So we did a roundtable episode with Martha a while back, just talking about pregnancy after loss. And so maybe let's start there a little bit of, when you and Andy were like, okay, let's try for another baby. How are you feeling in that moment? And what was it like to become pregnant again?
Well, I think I did touch on it in that roundtable, but when you have a loss and you don't bring a baby home, there is such a void, really. you just kind of you really wish to have a baby. I mean, your body is still even
Yeah.
doing the things that you would do if you had a baby, and so there's just so many layers to it, but, the big, like, resounding voice in your head is like, "Where is this baby that I'm supposed to be caring for and nurturing and loving and raising?" And so, I knew that I wanted to try again. It was a long process of healing too, because I think a big part of, making that decision is making sure that your motivation isn't, to replace the loss that you have,
Mhm.
and, so, uh, yeah, it was a year that we found out we were pregnant with Ava, um, to the date. I think,
Mhm.
Enzo was born October 13th of 2018, and October 2nd of 2019, I found out I was pregnant. And I remember I was texting my best friend and I was telling her, I'm late by like a few days and I really have this feeling that I'm pregnant." And usually,
Mhm.
they say like wait 2 weeks from your missed period before you like get any pregnancy tests because, a few days late doesn't mean you're
Mhm.
pregnant. And so I just remember telling her, like, I just have this feeling that I'm pregnant right now, but I'll wait. I'm going to wait 2 weeks because I don't want to jinx it. I don't want. And she's like, no, 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 go to the pharmacy, go get a test. Like, you do this. Let's see. And so I did. I went to the pharmacy. I didn't tell Andy. And I remember like peeing on the stick. She's like on the phone with me. And I see like a very fine, like 2 lines. And I don't know why I always get the old school pregnancy test,
Mhm.
maybe because it's cheaper, but I always get the old school. And I remember being like, "Darn it, I what I can't tell if this is like a positive test." And so I took another one and again, it was like
Mhm.
very faint, but there was 2 lines and I was like, "Okay, I'm pregnant." Um, and it was
Mhm.
just immediately joy overcame, and I was so grateful for the little baby that was growing inside me. Um, and
Mhm.
that night I told Andy, and we just kind of sat in that, like, realization that we're gonna do this again, and, it's happening.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much talk about it before. And so a lot of the processing the pregnancy second pregnancy was as it was happening. And that was difficult
Mhm.
too because once the excitement fades,
Yeah.
the fear, starts to kind of bubble up, and especially after the first
Mhm.
appointment, where your OB is kind
Mhm.
of telling you that the risks are higher for another preterm labor. Um, and so your bubble of baby bliss kinda gets burst pretty early on, and reality sinks in, and then you have to kind of sit with that and know that it is uncertain and you don't have control over what is gonna happen,
Yeah.
and that's a really hard thing to sit with and to accept.
Yep.
So yeah, having a pregnancy after loss it's like walking on eggshells the entire time. You're more aware of your body. You're more aware of every little feeling. You have your doctor on speed dial because 'cause you're like, any little thing that feels wrong or off, you're just on high alert the entire time. Um, and then also feeling extremely aware of, like, I need to be calm because I know that my stress also is affecting
Mhm.
baby right now, and so I need to also, like, find
Right.
ways to, like, meditate and calm my body and my nervous system, and so it's like this juxtaposition of, like, your body is responding from trauma, and you're also trying to, like, find ways to cope. Yeah, it's just very it's hard. It was a hard pregnancy, but sprinkled with joy because,
Yeah.
you're also very much aware of the blessing that it is to be able to get pregnant again. You're aware of how incredibly miraculous it is to carry a baby, and I think the first time around, we were kind of naive, and then the second time around, we're just so aware of how crazy it is to even get pregnant, how, like, everything is just it has to be aligned so perfectly for everything to go well, and so you're just so much more aware of that, and it makes everything heightened and, like, the hard and the beautiful. So
Right. Absolutely.
mhm.
Absolutely. Well, and I didn't realize that you found out you were pregnant so close to, like, when he was born, you said,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And so I can imagine too that that would be unique because you're, like, in that anniversary season
Mhm.
while also in, like, celebrating this new upcoming season and, like, those that collision would be, like, a lot to process and navigate and just, like, yeah, like you said, go into a pregnancy knowing, like, "Okay, this is a risk. We're grateful, like, we're ultimately so excited, and also, like, we're still grieving
Mhm.
what we just endured." Like, that would be a lot to process.
It was, and it was our 1st anniversary.
Right, yeah.
So, it would have been his 1st birthday. So we were definitely navigating a lot,
Yeah.
and our hearts were just cracked open,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so celebrating Enzo and honoring his life, I always wanted it to be so intentional. It made it's so special, to be able to celebrate both our babies, so closely together.
Oh, my goodness, that's so beautiful. I just think, like, I see it as, like, him being like, "Go get him, Ava." Like, like, passing the baton almost, like, "Go" I don't know.
It is. No, I think that you're so right because, I do think that in a way our babies choose us too, and
Mm,
so I don't think that I don't see it as a coincidence, really,
mm,
and I truly believe that it was divinely planned this way,
mhm.
where I think, Enzo and Ava's life are so, uh, intricately, like, connected, and I think that she carries a piece of him in her life, and so, there's even science that backs it, like, how each pregnancy we pass the life of the cells of our previous babies into the next pregnancy, and so there is a connection between
Yeah.
both of them, um,
Mm,
and it's just really, really incredible to think about that.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. So then going kinda back to, you find out you're pregnant, your OB you mentioned was kinda like, "Congratulations, and also we need to monitor you really closely." So, what did your pregnancy look like as far as, like, a medical? Were you getting consistent check-ins? I mean, how were they kind of mapping out your pregnancy for you?
Yeah, so it was definitely considered from the beginning a high-risk pregnancy, I was sent to a high-risk doctor. I think maybe after my second appointment.
Mhm.
So my first one was just kind of confirming pregnancy and checking on like vitals and having that conversation of like, we're going to have to come up with a plan so that we are just watching you and making sure the reason why I went into preterm labor with Enzo was unclear, so they were kind
Okay.
of just like, "We're just gonna have to kinda play it by ear and check," and so one of the theories was that my cervix was incompetent, so they wanted to do cervical checks, so we started doing that pretty much right away, just checking the length of my cervix every other week. I was put on, was it progesterone? I think
Mhm.
it was progesterone, and so I
Yeah.
started inserting that
Mm.
and taking that, pretty early on and, just getting I was in the it's like mixed feelings because you get to see your baby a lot more.
Yeah.
Um, I remember with Enzo, like, after that first appointment, I'm like, "What, I have to wait, like, 4 weeks until I
Yeah.
see him again?" Like, that's crazy. And so
Mhm.
this time it was like every 2 weeks we were in, the doctor's office checking on Ava, checking my cervical
Yeah.
length, and everything was checking out, and she looked great. She was growing beautifully. My cervix was long. It wasn't, like, shortening or anything.
Mhm.
There were no signs of preterm labor. And I remember at my 20 so Enzo was born at 24 weeks, and at my 24-week checkup, I went to the high-risk doctor. We did a very extensive ultrasound and check, and everything was looking great, and I left that day with, like, doctor's orders to enjoy the rest of my pregnancy
Wow.
because everything looked great.
You had, like, hit that big milestone that I'm sure was just,
Mhm.
like, always like, "Okay, we gotta get to this, we gotta get to this," and past 24, you know? Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
exactly. So we met that, and I remember just, like, such a weight
Yeah.
being lifted off my shoulders and saying, like, "I can't wait to just relax now and enjoy, like, this baby and every little moment being pregnant with her."
Yeah.
And then, I woke up one Saturday morning having some cramping,
Mm.
and I remember being like, "Okay, this is scary." The cramping was mostly in the morning when I had woken up, so I just drank water and kinda
Yeah.
stayed laying and relaxed and rested, and then we went to the dentist, and then I went to my parents' house, and Andy and my little brother were playing basketball. It was a beautiful, day, and I was just watching them, and the cramping kept, like, coming. It was in
Mm.
waves, and so I'm like, "Ugh," you know, you start getting, like, a little bit anxious, and
Yeah.
I didn't wanna scare anyone, so I was trying to, like, really in that moment, I was, like, triaging myself, like,
Yeah.
"Is this something that I have to say? Will it pass?" And I knew better to keep quiet. And so I told Andy, like, "I wanna call." It was
Yeah.
Saturday, so I was wanna call the on-call doctor. I wanna just kinda check in and see what I should do, and,
Mhm.
by the time I called, I had to wait for a call back. I was kinda laying on my side, trying to just drink water, and, it was almost like a light flipped on, and then I was, like, in excruciating pain.
Oof. Yeah.
And so Andy immediately knew something was not right when I was telling him, like, "This really hurts."
Yeah.
And so he said, "Let's just go. Like, let's not wait anymore. Let's just start driving." And that is like, from that moment on, like, the series of events that happened, I see it as, like, divine intervention after divine intervention because everything happened so quickly
Mhm.
after that moment, um, that one wrong turn could have made a huge impact in the outcome.
Mhm.
Um, so basically, we were on our way to the hospital that we delivered Enzo in because they have a level 4 NICU. And as we were on our way, like, right before the turn, before we could, like, turn around, I get a call from my doctor, and she says, "Come straight to the ER that's closest to you where I'm at. I wanna get you checked out, and if we need to transfer you, we'll transfer you in an ambulance, but come here, don't go straight there." And so I, like, literally, as she's telling me that, I'm like, "Turn, turn, turn." So he turns around, and we get to the, ER. We got there. They were starting to, like, put all the monitors on to check on everything, and asking me, like, from 1 to 10, like, "What is your pain right now?" And I was like, "There's no number. It's incredible. You can't even, like, brush your finger over
Mm.
my belly. It isn't.
Yeah.
I am in so much pain."
Yeah.
And at that moment, the doctor who was around when Enzo was delivered walks in, and I felt like he was an angel in that moment, and he just
Yeah.
walks in. He wasn't supposed to be there. He walks in and he says, "We're taking you back. You need to get the baby out right now. Like,
Mm.
where you're having your baby girl right now." And so
Huh.
it was so fast.
Mhm.
and so different from going through that with Enzo that it just felt so like a whirlwind. You would think that, okay, like I've been through this real and it was scratch that. Like this is totally different. It's not at all the same.
'Cause was Enzo's emergent like Ava's?
With Enzo, I was in the hospital 5 days before he was born.
Oh, right, okay.
And so even down to, like, with Enzo, I was awake during delivery.
Oh,
It was an emergency C-section, but I was able like, I was conscious.
sure, yeah,
With Ava, I'm, like, I'm rolling away,
yeah,
signing the papers
yeah,
that who knows what the papers say,
yeah,
and Andy is, like, in the room, and I just look at him, and we don't even have words to
no,
say, like,
mm-mm,
what do you say to each other? And so I'm being wheeled away. We don't say a word to each other. We just lock eyes.
mhm,
And the next thing I know, I'm in the OR and the anesthesiologist comes in who also wasn't supposed to be there.
mhm.
And he says, all right, I'm gonna count to, backwards from 10. And I was like, wait, 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 I'm not gonna be awake. Like, I didn't even realize
You
that I
even
wasn't
know,
gonna be
yeah,
awake for that. And they're like, no, honey, we need to get in right now. And so they like knocked me out. I'm unconscious. And the next thing I know, I'm awake in a recovery room.
mhm,
And it's impossible to explain the feeling of waking up and time being like erased almost. Like you
yeah,
don't even know what happened. Um, and my first thought is she alive? Did she
mhm,
make it? Um, and I'm my mom's in the room, Andy's in the room, and they're like, she's alive.
mm,
She's alive. And then uh just like sobbing, um,
mm,
in pain, so foggy from like
mhm.
anesthesia, and in comes in this giant like Transformers incubator with
Yeah.
little Ava inside of it,
So they
and
brought her to you?
they said, "We wanted you to see her before we transferred her to the NICU."
Oh my gosh.
And so they roll her in, and I just start talking, hi, baby, I'm right here." And then the paramedic is like, she's moving when you're talking." And
Oh.
I'm like, just my heart is bursting because 'cause I'm like,
Yeah,
any reassurance that she is okay,
yeah, yeah,
that she hears my voice, you just want to
yeah,
immediately
yeah,
comfort your baby.
yeah,
Um, and so I'm so grateful for that paramedic for
yeah,
saying that because
yeah,
that's, like, a memory that's just, like, in my brain
yeah.
that, as soon as she heard my voice, she moved, so she knows
Yeah,
me.
she knew, yeah.
And
Ugh,
so and they whisked her away, and she got well, she got transferred, and I had to recover, and
ugh,
that is
yeah,
always the worst part
yes.
because we're not even in the same hospital at this point, so,
Oh,
you go from, with Enzo, he was born we were at the hospital with the NICU, so he just was moved down a couple floors to the NICU, and, um, so I knew from that time, like, "Okay, where's the pump?
yeah,
Somebody
right,
get me a pump.
right.
Hook me up.
Yeah,
What do I need to start doing to, like, go into to to mother mode of just, like, I know what I can do, and I can
mhm,
pump, and I can recover, and I can get myself ready to, like, prove to these people that I can be discharged
yeah,
and go see my baby."
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so it was I wanna say it was 48 hours before I was released,
mhm,
um, and the day that I left the hospital, um, it was very reminiscent of leaving the hospital without Enzo,
mm,
because you're still leaving in a wheelchair
mhm,
to the car, and again, I didn't have my baby in my arms,
mhm, mm.
and I remember being brought down and being parked right next to another mom with her little baby,
Oh,
and holding back tears, trying to be strong and say like, "Okay, but I'm going to see my baby. This is
okay,
different.
mhm,
I'm not going home, I'm going to see my baby." And so, Andy picked me up and it was 45 minutes away, so we drove straight to
Oh,
the NICU.
a long drive.
It was a long drive, and the entire drive, we're just in silence.
Yeah.
Like, there are no again, there's just no words. You have one thing on your mind,
Mhm.
and it's, uh, like, "How are we gonna do this? How are we gonna" you don't even know. You have no
No,
idea,
no,
um,
no.
what you're gonna do, and so, just drive in silence. The feeling of excitement to see your baby still is there. I was still so excited to see her. Andy had been with her, and so he had sent pictures, and videos, and so I'd seen her through that, and I remember getting wheeled up to, like, the entrance, and for some reason, I feel like they were asking me, like, "Who are you here to visit?" or something
Mm,
like that, like, checking in, and I remember just saying, like, "I'm the mom," and just, instantly
mhm.
just bawling, and the receptionist kinda just like, "Go ahead, go, like, hurry up, go
Mm,
inside, and, like, we'll figure this out later, just go." And so and rolling up to um, her little isolette right
mhm.
next to where Enzo was when he was born,
Oh.
and it's just, like, it all floods back so fast.
Mhm.
And I remember pulling up to her little isolette and looking at her and thinking, "She looks so much bigger in the pictures."
Mm, yeah.
Um, so just, like, the reality of, like, she still is this tiny, tiny little baby that's supposed to be in your tummy.
Yeah, yep. Mhm.
She's supposed to be growing inside of you. It is both heartbreaking, but also as we were in the NICU, I remember thinking several times, like, "Oh, you get to see how they develop.
Yeah,
You get to,
yeah.
like something that you don't get to see when they're in your belly, you get to actually witness
Mhm.
them getting stronger and
Eh,
growing, gaining weight." And again, very heartbreaking scene, but also a
mhm.
front row seat
Yeah.
to a miracle.
Yeah, very miraculous, yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Oh, friend. I'm just a mess over here. I should have worn waterproof mascara for today. I know better than this. Oh,
Oh.
it's like you said, like you're sitting in that silence with your partner and you're just like, I know we have a lot to talk about, but not right now. Like, I know we have a lot to process. Like, what just happened? Like, and you just kind of have to push that down for a hot second and be like, okay, I know we have this to talk through and process, but like that ain't happening right now. Like,
Mhm.
and there's just like that sitting in silence and just like, okay, moving on. Like, I'll touch that
Mhm.
later. I'll look at that later. Right now, all I care about is baby. And it's just truly and I'm just in awe of mothers every day that, like, you wake up from surgery and you're just like, "Where's my baby?" Like, I don't care about me. I don't care about my body. I don't care the fact that, like, we just went both through, like, a major surgery and it was life-threatening for the both of us. Like, I really just only care about my baby.
Mhm.
Like, it goes to show just, like, the power of a mother's love and that we will go to,
Yeah.
like, unending lengths to make sure that our baby is safe and okay. And,
Mhm.
um I'm just in awe of you and just, yeah, like you said, the divine timing of each turn along the way to the hospital, the moment you got the phone call, it's just like all these things webbed through of just to Ava's arrival is truly, just miraculous, like you said. And, as also a preemie mom, it's that duality of like heartbreak and like miracle together of like, and I think we can sometimes feel shame for feeling that because, of course, at the end of the day, we'd rather them be inside. Like, if we had to choose, like, yeah, please just, I'll keep them safe here. I'd rather them not have to be hooked up to wires and machines helping them live. And at the same time, it is this like, whoa, like, you do get this front row seat into like every intricacy of their bodies forming and just, it's beautiful. And then, like, a bunch of other people also get to see that, right? Like, it's, like, not just you, it's other family members and nurses and staff that quite literally get to watch your baby grow and become the baby that they are today. It's really hard to explain that feeling.
It is. It is so true, but it was kinda really cool to
Yeah,
see,
right.
there were things that you'd be like, "Whoa."
Yeah,
It makes you also just so much more in awe of, uh, your little 2-pound baby who is fighting so
mhm.
hard, and you just are filled with so much pride
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're just like, "You are rocking. You are doing something you're not supposed to be doing, and you are
yeah,
doing it."
yeah, there really are no words. It's just I don't know how like, I'm in awe of, like, NICU professionals that do it every day. I'm like, "You have the coolest job." Like,
It's incredible.
you get to
It's
watch these
incredible.
babies every single day. Um, and so you get to visit her, you get to see her and meet her, and that kind of kicks off your NICU journey. And so
Mhm.
Ava was born at 26 weeks. So, what were some of her triumphs in the NICU? What were some of her hurdles that she experienced? Did you commute to your hospital? Was it like your local NICU? Walk us through just kind of what your day to day looked like.
Well, Ava was born March 7th, 2020,
Ooh,
and if you recall,
oh,
about 2 weeks after that, the world shut down.
yeah, quite literally. Yep.
But we lived 35 minutes away from the NICU where Ava was at, and the first 2 weeks, we were able to basically just kind of it was a shared room,
Mhm.
so I believe there were, like, 9 incubator or 9 isolates, in the room, and there were quite a few, babies in Ava's pod, but I remember being able to stay 24
Mhm.
hours, no restrictions, we could just stay as long as we wanted.
Yep.
Me and Andy could go in together. My in-laws, flew in from California to meet her, and my parents were in town, and they met her,
Mhm.
and then the first set of restrictions came, which was only parents allowed to visit, so, luckily, both grandparents were able to come in, see her,
Mhm.
and then that was shut down, and then we kept getting, like, visits from the coordinator saying, like, "We're still figuring out, like, what it is gonna happen, but things might be changing, so just wanna give you a warning, like, we're
Yeah.
just trying to do what's best for the babies, and so, we'll keep you posted." And then, the news came that we would only be able to visit Ava, one at a time, so we wouldn't be able to go in together anymore, and we would be restricted in time as well because they wanted to
Mhm.
give every parent in the pod an opportunity, an equal opportunity to spend time with their baby. So that, turned out being, 2 hours each in the
Wow.
day. I remember our nurse was like we were able to continue to be with Ava that day for the rest of the day as we wanted, and then as we were getting ready to leave, she said, "Do you want me to take a picture of all 3 of you together? Because this is gonna be the
Oh.
last time that you
Oh
guys
my
are gonna
heart.
be together." And I
Oh
was
my
like,
heart.
so shout out to the nurses who think
Yeah.
about everything, literally,
Literally
because that
everything.
hadn't crossed my mind.
Yeah.
So we have our little family picture. It was,
Oh.
like, the day Ava had gotten her CPAP. So
Oh.
she was in her little isolette. We were kinda, like, awkwardly standing behind her, smiling. And then we left, and then our routine was we would wake up in the morning, and we would drive so that Andy or I could do, the 9 a.m. rounds.
Mhm.
So we would drive. One of us would have to stay literally in the parking lot because we couldn't even go into the hospital.
Hmm.
So we would park. We would, one would go up and be with Ava for 2 hours, and then we would switch off, and then I would get to whoever was in second would get to also be part of because we were on, like, every 3 hours for rounds, and so we timed it where each were present for one set of rounds and doing all the, diaper change and temperature and all that kind of fun stuff that we get to do
Yep.
because it
Yep.
really was in that time, that's what you look forward to. You're like,
Yes.
"I just wanna
Yep.
do, like, a what does a mom do? Like, changes diapers."
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so we really did. We looked forward to be able to doing such a simple task that,
Mhm.
so often you hear people complaining about, like,
I know.
who's gonna do the most in the baby showers, you hear, like, "Who's gonna change the most diapers, mom or dad?" And it's kinda like this joke, and we're gladly, I would
Yeah,
change all the
like,
diapers,
fighting to
like,
change 'em, like, "No, I wanna do it."
let me do it. So
Yeah.
so yeah, that became our little routine for the next 82 days while Ava was in the NICU. And then we would go home and we'd have a full day
Mhm.
because he wasn't going into work. I wasn't working, and it was, what do you do?
Mhm.
You can't go be with your baby. She's
Yeah.
all that's in your mind, and nothing else. You can't distract yourself with, like, anything else because
No.
nothing was open.
Yeah, right.
So we would just
You
sit in
yeah,
our little apartment,
right.
and I would call, like, every 20 minutes, "How's everything good?"
Right.
And, um, and so just it was a process of finding a rhythm at home too,
Yep.
and finding ways to be with each other
Yep.
and strengthen our relationship through it all, process
Mhm.
a lot of what was going on, and Ava's NICU stay was pretty uneventful for the most part. She had, a little bit she had one incident during her NICU stay where she got an infection, and it was pretty scary. Um, and it's so crazy because through it all, again, Enzo's life was so he it wasn't like she was born and now Enzo was back of my mind. They were equally, like,
Mhm.
taking up the same amount of space
Yeah.
in my mind and heart, and it is like when you have multiple children, and I can imagine
Yeah.
so many NICU moms who had kids at home,
Yeah.
and the feeling of how do you navigate that, like, it was very similar for me too. I felt like he was so present in my mind through it all
Mhm.
because of all the similarities,
Yep. Yep.
because you're also wondering what it would have been like if he had, um, survived and been in the NICU,
Mhm.
and the day that she was really, really sick, I went in and it was so evident that she wasn't doing okay. She was just so still, and, um, she that day she had, like, a spinal tap and just so many invasive procedures to, like, try to figure out the root of why she was not responding well, and I'm sitting there holding her little hand, and I remember noticing, "Oh, I'm not the only one in here." And I was like, "That's weird. There's you're not allowed to be with other people in this room." And so as I'm listening, dividers are going up, and I start listening to a conversation that I knew very well.
Mm.
And then the family that was in the isolate next to us, where Enzo was receiving the very same news that we had to receive.
Mm.
And I remember listening to the mom and what came out of her, the sound that comes out of a mom when she's being told that her baby is not gonna make it. And so I remember being there and looking at my baby and thinking, "How can I be there for that mom right?"
Mhm.
And I think it was, like, the first time that I realized that we could use our pain to help others
Mhm.
navigate theirs, because I knew exactly what she was feeling.
Yeah.
And so, again, it was just a reminder that Enzo's life, even though it was so short, the impact of his life is going to continue on for
Mhm.
the rest of my life. And, um, and so I I just remember talking to a nurse and saying, "Can I write her a letter? Can I, I just want her to know that she's not alone."
Mhm.
And, unfortunately, that wasn't possible, because of just HIPAA laws and everything, but I just remember, what I would have given to be able to connect with her.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, um and so, Ava recovered, and the rest of our stay was really just hoping that she would continue to develop and, get stronger. And, I think our biggest challenge was feeding, and, we did end up coming home, from the NICU with an NG tube because, she was aspirating, and so they just didn't feel like it was safe to continue to try, any oral feeds, so
Mhm.
they asked us if we were comfortable with going home with a feeding tube, and we said, "Yeah." And
Yeah.
then, we learned how to do that.
Became
And
nurses overnight.
yeah, we totally did. And, man, if looking back at us as new parents, the things that you learn how to do,
Truly.
um, my mother-in-law, when she came to visit us once we were home, she said, "You guys are pros." Like, I remember being a first-time mom and not knowing what the heck I was doing, and, and you guys know, it's just
Yeah.
you have to learn. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been trained to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So, we would just, she would just look at us in awe because we just had our we knew what we were doing, we knew the cues, we knew the, schedule, and she was just like, "I'm blown away by how well you know how to do
Yeah.
this."
Yeah.
So,
For
yeah.
sure. So miraculous. It is like one of those things where you're like coming home looks so different than what you envision coming home with your it's like, okay,
Mm,
I'm a mom, I'm a NICU mom, I'm a medical mom, and like then you get launched into the after of just endless appointments and checkups and things like that, and it just you're so grateful to be home, and you're also like, "Whoa, okay." Again, I'll deal with what just happened later. I now am
mm.
like, "Okay, we don't have the supportive nurses anymore. We're just here we are." And so I did wanna come back to one thing is, how did it feel for you and Andy to leave the hospital with a baby? And to be the ones walking out of the hospital with a car seat, like, what was that like for you guys?
It was blissful. A few days before we were gonna be coming home, I knew, that they sing a little song when you're leaving because I had heard other,
Yeah.
neighbors been discharged before us, and so I was, just looking forward to, they're gonna sing us our little song,
Yeah.
and we're gonna sing out, and our nurse makes, these little graduation caps for NICU
Yeah.
grad. She had already brought that, and
Yeah.
so there was this bubbling excitement of, we're going home. Of course, we like to make things complicated, and so we were actually moving
Oh gosh.
apartment the
No big
same day
deal.
that we were discharged.
Oh my god.
So, at home, we were very much occupied with, moving our apartments
Yeah.
and picking everything up, um, and, I, decorated our car with, NICU grad
Yeah.
signs all over, and, I just wanted people to know,
Yeah.
we are coming home,
Yeah.
and so, it was really special to finally, be holding my little
Mm.
stroller. She's in it, and we're rolling out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the emotional, your family is the NICU nurses that
Yeah.
have taken care of you and your baby while you've been in the NICU, and so the emotions of saying goodbye to them and thanking them
Mhm.
and, you know, knowing, they're always there, adding them on
Yeah.
Facebook and,
Yes.
we're gonna keep in touch, and,
Yeah.
we wanna know how Ava does, and
Yeah.
so it's just a very emotional, exciting, um, day, and we
Yeah.
came home to an empty apartment. We still have one more night at our old apartment, and we did not sleep that night. We
Yeah.
just watched Eva all
Yeah.
night,
Yep.
and I remember, whispering to Andy, like, "Are you asleep?" And he'd say, "No." And I'd be like, "Me neither." And we would just watch her, and I think
Yeah.
it was a mixture of just, like, is this really, like, real life? And so scared of, "Oh my gosh, like, what if she stopped breathing?" So it's
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
mix again, like, we just our journey was just such a mix of both, like, anxiety and fear and heartbreak and
Yeah.
also joy and beauty and awe and wonder. It's just we have I would say that's almost like the biggest lesson for us is just
Yeah.
they can coexist. Like, that's how we were existing for the last 82 days,
Yeah.
um, was living in both of those tensions.
So wild. Oh, I did not know you guys were moving.
As if things weren't complicated enough. They're
I
like,
know.
"Let's
Why not
add."
add another layer?
At at this
Oh.
point.
Oh, man. Well, I can just imagine how that felt to be leaving the hospital, and I'm so glad that you allowed yourself to celebrate and to really just make it special and memorable, and I think sometimes as NICU moms, we're scared to, like, quote, "jinx it," or be like, "Oh, am I being too excited? Am I being too," and so I'm just so glad that you just allowed yourself to just revel in that moment and just really
Mhm.
feel it and celebrate it and bring others in with you on that, and that first night, yeah, you don't sleep. You're just like you're just waiting and watching, and, like, I remember touching Silas's chest, like, every 5 seconds. I'm like, "Okay, we're good." Like
Yes.
well, wow, okay. It's so hard to know, like, how to close out an episode like this because I have so many questions, and I feel like these stories could be 4 parts long because it's, like, the pregnancy, the delivery, the NICU stay, the at home, and now she's gonna be 4, and it's like those could be 4 episodes alone. But maybe as a closing, I'd love to just hear from you of you're 4 years out from your experience, and Ava's a wonder. She is just I love her so much. I had the chance to meet her this past summer, and she's really remarkable. I was just, like, staring at her. She's just so curious about the world, and you guys just have this special, special connection. It's just evident, it's palpable, like, the 2 of and you and Andy. I mean, the 3 of you together are just, like, truly a unit. It's so miraculous to see up close. Um, but I wonder, you've had these 4 years to heal and just process your experience more fully and in depth, and so, what encouragement and hope would you give to NICU mothers who either are pregnant after loss or a previous premature delivery, and B, just like, what hope do you give to be, 4 years out from the whole experience?
Mm. Well, I always say that Enzo gave us a new perspective in life with
Yeah.
his life,
Yeah.
and Ava is teaching us how to walk gracefully in it.
Oh, I love that.
She is truly, like you said, our greatest teacher
Yeah.
at this moment in life. And it's just such an honor to watch her grow and become the
Yeah.
little young lady that she is becoming. But really, what I would encourage any mama walking through a similar journey is to, like Ava, be curious and
Yeah.
allow yourself to be open to the moment at hand and to never stop noticing those little fragments that are always around us, that are teaching us, that are showing us a new way.
Mhm.
I think I said this with Enzo is sometimes you wanna walk around with your hands clenched closed because you don't wanna risk losing anything, and you're so scared, and so you just
Yeah.
walk around with fists and you build up a lot of anger and resentment, and those are all such natural responses. So, A, be gentle with yourself and don't feel bad if that's where you are right now in
Yeah.
life. If
Yeah.
that if you're walking around and you have your fist clenched closed, don't be mad at yourself or don't feel bad about that because that's
Yeah.
so natural. It
Yeah.
is we are human. That is so natural. But I hope, and my hope for you is that one day you can start to loosen that grip
Yeah.
and invite life back into
Mm.
your life, because there is just so much to live, and that's what we've been learning to do, is just to accept and embrace the life that we are given, and make it worthwhile, because we're only
Mhm.
here for so long. So, like, we
Ah,
wanna make it
oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, that's the ending.
done.
Yes, I mean,
Ah.
I mean, mamas, we leave you with that. Like,
Mhm,
Aisha summed it up so beautifully of just like, A, there's no shame if that's where you are in your healing journey, and B, there is hope to be able to feel that life again. And
mhm.
um that's our close. I have nothing to say. Yep, that's it.
Well,
That's the one.
well, sending so much love to all the NICU mamas out there who are listening. You are not alone, and
Yeah,
it's it's an honor and privilege to be able to share our journey with you, and I hope that you feel seen in it.
absolutely. Well, mamas, we love you
And
so
thank you for the
much.
space.
Oh, girl, Aisha, thank you so much for sharing your story, and I've it's just an honor to call you friend and to hear the miraculous stories of both of your babies. And to all of our lost mamas listening, know that we honor your babies as well. I hope that is so evident throughout this episode of that they will never be forgotten. Their lives are forever embedded into you and your motherhood story, and we are committed to honoring and celebrating them. And to all of our mamas who resonate with pieces of Aisha's story, just know that there is hope and that, like Aisha said, you are not alone. And so we love you so much. We are just so honored to share this space with you. We will be back next week, but we hope that you can care for your heart after this episode and really just revel in how remarkable of a mother you are and how special you are to this community. So, love you, mamas. We'll be back next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Dear NICU Mama podcast. If you loved this episode, we'd be so grateful for a review.
For more ways to connect with the Dear NICU Mama Sisterhood, check out the links in the episode description.